guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing something a little different. As many of you know, I work professionally as a bartender, and one of the jobs that I have acquired after a decade-long career of being a bartender is a beverage director and menu curator. I basically design cocktails for cocktail bar menus. It's one of my favorite things ever. And today I thought I would do something a little different and a little fun and create a cocktail inspired by one of my all-time favorite horror novels. If you've been on my channel for a while, you guys know how much I absolutely love and adore The Chestnut Man by Søren Sveistrup. This book I have talked about many times. It was my top read of 2021. And I thought, you know what, it would be really fun to do a chestnut cocktail, especially because it is currently December and chestnuts are available pretty much everywhere at this time of year, so we definitely have the ingredients for it. So today we're going to be making a chestnut old fashioned. An old fashioned is a very old school classic cocktail based out of 3 ingredients. So the traditional recipe is about 2 ounces of whiskey, a sugar cube muddled with water, and then some Angostura bitters. We are going to do a bit of a spin on that today because we wanted to incorporate, obviously, the flavor of chestnuts. So I recently honeymooned in Paris, and while we were there, we discovered this liqueur called Crème de Châtaigne. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I will put a photo up of it. But it's basically a chestnut liqueur, which I was so excited about. We tried it when we were at this bar, and it was absolutely incredible, and I was like, I can't wait to go back home and start making drinks with this. Little did I know, it is not a liqueur readily available in the United States, so I decided, what is something that we can do to make it ourselves here in the United States? So I really wanted to pull forward that kind of sweet flavor of chestnuts, so instead of simply doing an infusion in a whiskey, I decided that it would be really fun to take something called Calvados and do an infusion with that. Now I will have photos up of how I made this as I walk through it, but basically Calvados is an apple brandy. If you don't have Calvados, you could also use Laird's apple brandy, which is a very traditional apple brandy that I really love. But I did have a bottle of Calvados that was about halfway empty that I've been looking for a reason to use, so I decided I was going to go with that one. To make an infusion is very simple. All I did was go to Whole Foods and pick up a pack of pre-roasted and peeled chestnuts that are basically ready to eat right then and there. If you don't have those, you can roast your own chestnuts and peel them, but that's going to take a lot of effort and be very time consuming, which I didn't really want to have to do. So basically what I did is I took a quart container and filled it with the remaining Calvados that I had, took about 2/3 of that package of chestnuts, chopped them up just a little bit so that they will infuse a bit faster, put them in that quart container, and then stored them in my fridge for about 2 weeks. When I read online about how to properly infuse chestnuts in spirits, a lot of places said anywhere between 1 week to a month. When I've worked in infusion bars before, depending on the type of ingredients that you're infusing, anywhere between 3 days to a month can get you the proper flavors that you want. So I was playing around with it. Every couple days or so I would taste it, and 2 weeks seemed to be the sweet spot for that. So I have it right here. I'm going to be straining it later for personal use, but since I had it in the quart container when I was making it for this video, I did want to keep it in here. So here is our Calvados, and this is going to be part of our base for the old fashioned. Like I said, an old fashioned is typically 2 ounces of whiskey. We're going to do more like 2 ounces of spirits this time. So we're going to do 1 ounce of our chestnut infused Calvados and then 1 ounce of whiskey. Next, we have to focus on our sugar items. So usually you could do either a sugar cube muddled in water, or you could use simple syrup, which is sugar that has been melted in water to form its own syrup. Traditionally, I like to use Demerara or Demerara, which is more of like a brown sugar. But for this, I did actually make my own chestnut simple syrup so that we could really bring out that chestnut flavor and really complement the drink to really pull forward the chestnut flavors of the original chestnut liqueur that I had in France. To make a chestnut simple syrup is really simple. See, it's a simple syrup. All I did was cut up the remaining 1/3 of those chestnuts that I had in my bag from Whole Foods, put them in with about, I would say, just a little less than 2 to 1. So I had almost 2 parts sugar to 1 part water. I tend to do a little bit less just because I don't want it to be super, super thick. And I heated that up for about 3 to 5 minutes until everything seemed to be really, really mixed in well. And then I took it off of heat, off of my pan, and I put it in a little bowl and covered it with saran wrap and let it sit there until it fully cooled down. After that, I then strained it into this bottle and let it sit. For this recipe, I did do 1 part white sugar, 1 part brown sugar, just because I wanted something that was a little more complex than white sugar, but I didn't want it to be fully a brown sugar to overwhelm the flavor of the chestnuts. Now, because we're doing more of like a fall drink, I wanted to stay away from Angostura bitters because I felt that Angostura had a very distinct flavor, and I thought it would be more complimentary to use orange bitters, which I have right here. You can get pretty regularly. This is probably the second most common bitters, next to Angostura and probably right before Pashad. But if you want to, you could also use black walnut bitters. I did try it in this drink. While it's very nice and really pulls forward the nuttiness of the drink, I did find that it was a little bit too nutty for what I am trying to do, and therefore took away from the actual chestnut factor of this drink. Okay, so now that I've done a ton of talking, let's build the drink. So we're going to take this, which is our mixing glass. This is typically where you will make stirred drinks, unlike a shaker where you will, shake your drinks. And we're gonna simply fill it with ice. Okay, so obviously I'm using my hands there because this is the drink that I am going to be making for myself. If I was in a bar, I would be using a scooper, but I don't have one of those. So here we have this. You can either build your old fashioned in your glass, or you can do it in a mixer. I always prefer mixers, but I know a lot of bartenders like to build their drinks in the glass. The only difference is you wouldn't be straining your drink once you make it. So then we're gonna take what is called a Japanese jigger. This is my favorite jigger to work with. I find it the most bartender friendly. It's very easy to flip and turn in the ways that you want. And we're going to fill it up with 1 ounce of our Calvados concoction here. And we're gonna fill it up with 1 ounce of our Calvados. So this large end here is 2 ounces. This smaller side here is 1 ounce. There are little grooves inside of it to tell you 1.5 ounce, 0.75 ounces, 0.5 ounces. So this is a really, really handy bar tool to have. Okay, so we're gonna fill it all the way to the top and dump that in. Next up, I'm going to take a rye whiskey. This is the Bone Snapper Straight Rye Whiskey Single Barrel. This is my husband's, he loves this. We tried this drink with bourbon as well, and it will be a sweeter cocktail if you make it with bourbon. I would suggest something like the Four Roses Single Barrel. This is my personal favorite bourbon. But today we're gonna make it with a rye, just because I think the rye balances out the sweetness of the Calvados and the chestnut simple syrup a little bit better. So we're gonna open this up. And we're gonna do 1 ounce of rye. And obviously you can use whatever rye you like. I am not actually a fan of rye typically, but I felt that it worked significantly better with this drink than a traditional bourbon. All right, so once we have that, we are then going to take our chestnut simple syrup and we are just gonna put in 0.25 ounces. If you go just a little bit over 0.25, that's fine, but it will drastically change the sweetness level of your drink. I know it's a very, very small amount, but with a drink like an old fashioned, just a little bit extra of sugar can really make a difference. And then we're gonna add 3 little dashes of orange bitters. Be careful, some bitters containers come out really, really quickly and some are droppers. So it's really up to you to figure out what level of bitters you are comfortable with in your drinks. I tend to lean more on the heavier side with bitters when it comes to old fashions. Usually when I make a typical old fashioned, I'll do 1 ounce of bourbon, 1 ounce of rye, 0.25 Demerara syrup, and then 3 dashes of orange bitters and 2 dashes of Angostura. But that's just my personal preference and my personal old-fashioned recipe. So it's really up to you how much of an orange or Angostura essence you would want in your old-fashioned. For this one, we want that orange to be a little bit heavier. All right, we're then gonna take our bar spoon and we're gonna stir. Now, obviously, this is a very, very makeshift setup for me. We do have our Christmas decorations up, so my bar is a little turned upside down from what it would normally be. All right, So next we are going to take our rocks glass with a nice big cube. You want the larger cubes because this will stop the drink from watering down as fast. If you have more traditional ice cubes, they will melt faster and kind of change the flavor of the drink. Is Bartok here to say hi? Do you want to say hi? We have Bartok here, my little perfect barback. And strain everything into our rocks glass. This strainer is a little bit too small for this particular mixing glass, but it's what I currently have on hand. So the last step that we want to complete is our garnish. So for this, we're going to express an orange peel. Garnishes are very, very, very important. They add an essence of flavor and scent to a drink. And sometimes you really just need that kiss of a different flavor to really, really elevate your drink. And there you have it, a chestnut Calvados old fashioned. And there you have it, your Chestnut Man inspired Calvados old fashioned. I thought this would be really fun because I really liked the idea of playing with both sweet and more bitter components. I feel like that is definitely the dichotomy that you get from our main characters in the Chestnut Man. And obviously the total point of the Chestnut Man is that our killer focuses on leaving chestnuts behind as clues. So obviously chestnuts needed to be the forefront flavor of this drink. So yeah, definitely try this at home. Let me know what you guys think. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's very, very different than what I normally do. And I'm like very nervous filming this because I'm used to teaching bartending, but I don't think I'm used to teaching bartending in this way. So yeah, I hope you guys had fun. Please ignore how amateurish this bar looks too. When I work in a real bar, it doesn't really look like this. It's just my makeshift at home. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. As always, I try to post every Monday and Thursday, sometimes on Saturdays, and leave a like or a comment down below if you enjoyed this and want to see more, because I definitely have some fun ones coming up. I have a great signature cocktail that I make completely inspired by the movie Rosemary's Baby, so I would love to share that with you guys in the future. Cheers!